Hello crafty friends, welcome to or welcome back to Jenny Love Journals. So I finally got the pumpkin journals done and I am going to do a flip through of these with you guys today so that you can see how they turned out. Both of these journals will be for sale in my Etsy shop. Probably when you're seeing this video, they will be in my shop. So if you're seeing this video and you're interested in purchasing either of these journals, head on over to my Etsy shop. The link is in the description and see if they're still available. So I made two journals, guys, and I kind of showed you the process along the way. I did do one or two videos doing some projects for these journals. And I did show you some of the progress during other videos that I did. I would just kind of randomly pull them out and say, okay, well, I got this done, I got that done. But they're done. So each of these journals are two signature journals. And they are both chock full of goodness. They do both have some dangles. And let's see, the measurements of these journals are 9.5 by a little over 6 inches. They are both the same size. They have a 1 3/4 inch spine, and as you can see, they are covered with beautiful fabric. Both of these journals are, and embellished a little bit. On the cover of this one, I didn't want to embellish it too much because the fabric itself has already got a lot going on. So I didn't want to do too much to the eye, if you will. There's the back. Didn't do too much to the back because, again, the fabric itself is just beautiful. And it's got a dangle here. It's got four dangles, excuse me, with coordinating beads. There's like, my husband actually made that out of epoxy resin. It's a orange leaf, as you can see. And there's a few buttons that are shaped like leaves. Some glass beads, orange, green, beige glass beads. Here's another button. Leaf button. There's a little pumpkin. How cute is that? And there's some more glass hand painted beads. So that's that one. And then this one, I decorated the front a lot more. I mean, the fabric on this one is just as beautiful, but I just felt like this one needed a little more decor. So I just kind of layered some things up on here, as you can see. And this is also covered, the spine is also covered with some fabric and lined with rickrack, just like this one. The dangles on this are, there's some different things, but some of the same things as well. There's a little pumpkin on that. Here's some little buttons. Here's another leaf that my husband made out of epoxy resin. And this, I don't even know what you would call it, but I think it's super cute. And lots of nice little things going on there. So let's open these babies up and see what we got going on inside. All right, we'll start with this one. And again, they are two signatures. Right when opening it up, let me zoom in just a tiny bit more. There is a fabric pocket here, and I did sew it in, and I put in a vintage flash card, and I stamped some leaves on it, and on this side I stamped the word fall colors, and then I put a fabric cluster at the top, and again I glued the leaf on here that my husband made. He made me several of these probably about 2 years ago, and I was happy to finally be able to use them. In here is a very vintage from a 1930s appointment book, and I used the month of September for fall. Here on the first page, the digitals, there's one digital kit that I used. Actually, I'm sorry, there's two digital kits. One for the some of the papers that are in the signatures, and then the other one for some of the ephemera that you'll see. If you want to know where these came from, I will link those below in the description as to which Etsy store I purchased those from. So this is one of the digital pages, and I lined that with a fabric ruffle that I made. And then here is a pocket with some pumpkins on it. I cut this out using my Big Shot And I put in a vintage Betty Crocker Frosty Pumpkin Pie recipe card. And this is from 1975. So I thought that was pretty cool. And you can actually make that. It sounds delicious, actually. And the background paper on this one is pumpkins. This is a belly band that I made, and inside here this is a piece of scrapbook paper, and I just made a little card. So you can open that up and write in it. Here's another pocket. Lots of little collages and stamping throughout. I made this journaling card. This is lined paper from, I believe, KB and Friends, and I love the fact that the lines go this way, so that, you know, when you go to fold the paper in half, they're not going this way like your average lined paper. Another digital. Here's a long pocket that I cut out on my Big Shot, and the orange and white, gingham or plaid background. Here's a tag I made. I believe I made this tag on camera, and I cut these little leaves out using a punch. How cute is that? And that fits snugly in there. This is a invoice. It's between 1910 and 1919. I'm not sure which, and when we get to the other side of it, you'll see why I think that. But it is a vintage invoice sheet. And then this is just a piece of regular lined paper. Here's another pocket, and in here we have this little card, which is a digital, and then this tag that I made. I don't know if I made this one on camera, but this little pumpkin's hanging from a bulb pin. This is a vintage bingo card, and I embellished it, and I put a fabric ruffle. I almost said cluster. A fabric ruffle down here, and I added these little embellishments. But this is a very hard cardboard vintage bingo card. These are the bingo cards that were used like way back in the day when you actually went to bingo and you had the hardboard bingo cards and you had to cover them with the little chips. That's what this is. And I put this little card in there. Oh, it's not a card, it's actually it was a cutout or a cut apart piece from a paper pad, but it was too big, so I had to fold it. Little collage up here with a button. This was a piece of scrapbook paper, and I folded it up to make pockets rather than cut it down to fit. I just folded it up, so that it would form pockets. And in each pocket, there are little notebooks that I made. And in this one as well, this is also a little notebook. And this is not part of the digital. This is another digital that I had for a long time. And I believe the place that I got it from was called Coffee Shop, but I don't believe that they are around anymore, honestly, because I tried looking for them and I don't think that they are, unfortunately. But there's two little pockets here, and here is a digital in this one and a vintage Monopoly money in that one. And then in this one is a little game card, a vintage game card, and I just embellished it with some rickrack and this little pumpkin mug. How cute. So that's just a fun little element. Piece of the digital, beautiful. Here's the other side of that vintage invoice, or actually antique invoice, I should say. And you can see where it says 191. And when I purchased this pack of invoices, I got a big pack from a church sale. As I was showing it in my haul video, I said, I really don't know how old these are. They look really old. I said, if I had to guess, I would guess 1920s or 30s. And then one of my viewers actually commented, and she was like, look at the 191. She said it's either between 1910 and 1919. And I said, oh my God, you are so right. I didn't even realize that. So that's what that is. And those are from a vintage sheep leather. This is a vintage sheep leather company invoice. Here are some elements from one of the kits and a vintage Norman Rockwell playing card. and it has the fall theme on it with the little boy and the puppies. How cute. And then this pocket I cut out using my Big Shot, and it has pumpkins on it. Love this. Another beautiful digital. This is a fabric flip. I sewed a orange lace to the top, and it's 3 layers. And then underneath is the other side of the KB and Friends lined paper, so you can write a secret message and then cover it up with your fabric flip. There's another pocket. This was just a piece of like ribbon, if you will, and I just glued that on there. And in here, very fragile, so if you end up with this journal, please be careful. This is a sheet. It's actually a spread here from an antique trigonometry book. I want to say this book was from 1919. So as you can see, sadly, when I went to pull the staples out of the book itself, it ripped some of the pages. So because it's a very fragile paper. I mean, if you go to fold it, it will probably crack. But I just included it in here as a fun little element. Here's a little mini pocket with a few little cute pieces in there. Here's another pocket that I cut out on my Big Shot and just glued this pumpkin on it. And in here is a piece of coffee dyed, or not a piece, but a coffee dyed guest check. And then at the top here, this is a hidden paper clip with little pockets. And then I put these 2 little elements and clip those up in. And this comes off. So as you can see, these are pockets and there's a little tag in there. And then when you flip it over, there's another pocket. So you can take those little pieces out and you can write on the back of them if you want to. They are super duper cute. And again, it is a hidden paper clip. So, well, I should have put it back on the page before. Let me flip it over and do it. It's easier to see what I'm doing that way. There we go. And it's very easy to clip on and off. You just have to like see where the end of it is. Some more digitals. Going into the second signature here, here's another fabric ruffle. And I just glued on this You Can Do It Now or Later sheet, and then put the little pumpkin down here. This is a vintage real estate page. It came out of a real estate book from 1970. And I used the October page, again for fall, and I just glued this on. This is a piece of tea stained paper. This is a digital. This is actually my digital. I do have digital tea stained paper in my Etsy shop. So if you don't have time to tea stain your own paper, or you want to print out a bunch of digital tea stained papers, you can head on over to my Etsy shop and purchase that. I think there's 4 different ones in one pack. In this pocket, there is this little element. And this is a vintage Rolodex card, and I believe I made this on camera, and I just embellished it. I backed it with orange scrapbook paper, and I put the leaves on top and the pumpkin and punched a little leaf out right there. I thought that was cute. If you have not seen that video, you can go check it out. I think it was like a week or so ago that I did that video. I also did these on camera. So this green card was a vintage game piece, and I glued on the acorn, the blessings, and this little teeny tiny envelope. And in this teeny tiny envelope are some little elements. There's a little tag and an apple in there. How cute is that? And again, I think I did those on video. Yeah, in fact, I know I did. Here's another long pocket. And in here is another vintage appointment book page. Maybe I'm zoomed in a little too far. There we go. So put that down in there. This is a piece of graph paper, I think from KB and Friends. Just a regular piece of lined notebook paper for writing. Lots of writing space, as you guys can see. Love this digital, so beautiful. Here's another pocket that I cut out on my Big Shot, and in here, this is a vintage McCall's spicy pumpkin pudding recipe. And this is from 1973. And yes, my nails are green. I do it for spooky season. The last couple videos you might have noticed that my nails were orange. So this week I did them in green. This is just scrapbook paper, and I did the same thing because it was a 12 by 12 sheet. I just folded it up to make 2 pockets, and I embellished each pocket here. And this was an index card that I decoupaged with a fall napkin. So this that you see right here is actually a napkin, and I just used some Mod Podge to decoupage the napkin onto the index card. But I doubled up on the index card to make it nice and thick, and when I did, I put them back to back so that on the back side there was lines from the other index card so that you can write. I mean, you can write on it regardless, but I mean, you can agree that, sorry, that it's easier to write when there's lines. So I did that. I thought it came out really cute. I think I did these on video. Did I do these on video? I don't know. I'm gonna have to check. But anyway, so there's that. There's one of these in each journal. The other one is a little different. This is a tag that I made. The topper is a little scarf. How adorable is that? And just some cute little elements. These are 2 more little pockets with some cute little tags in there. I mean, I went all out with the pumpkins. I did not hold back. Piece of digital. Here's another pocket and another journaling card that I made. Here's another fabric flip. This is covering a piece of my digital tea stain paper. This is also a 3-layer fabric flip, and I glued a piece of rickrack over the top. I sewed them together at the top, but then I glued the rickrack over the part that I sewed. So again, you can write a secret message or a secret entry and then cover it up. Here's the other side of the other half of the vintage 1970 real estate page. Came out of a book. Another pocket and another journaling card that I made. This is a glassine bag that I just embellished, and in here I made this little card so that you have something to write on or write in. And then on the back side is another fabric pocket, and in here I have a coffee dyed vintage time card. Actually, no, this isn't vintage. This time card isn't. But it's a coffee dyed time card. And then there's my little signature and label right there. All right, so that is this journal. Again, will be for sale in my Etsy shop by the time you're seeing this video. All right, guys, next journal. I already showed you the front and everything, so we're just gonna dive right in. Just like the other one, as soon as you open it up, there's a fabric pocket here, and I lined it with, I lined the top with some orange lace. In here is another coffee dyed time card, and I just glued some pumpkins like I did on the other one. Going into the first signature is a fabric ruffle that I made. Oh, another glassine bag, but I just noticed I didn't tuck anything in there. It's empty. So I'll either have to remember to tuck something in there, or I can just leave it empty so that whoever ends up with it can tuck something in there if they want to. This is a piece of scrapbook paper in a little pocket. I would have to say probably 60 or 70% of the pockets you see in here I cut out on my Big Shot. Here is the other, index card where I decoupaged the napkin onto it. How cute is that? And again, lines on the back so that you can write. But I also made it so that you can see the lines through this and in the other one if you notice. So you can actually still write over this if you want to. Here's the lined KB and Friends. This little sticker, I love it. It says visit the pumpkin patch. Another pocket, long pocket, and in here again is another vintage page out of the vintage appointment book, and I chose the October page, and it is front and back, by the way. October 9th and 10th. Here's another antique, I can't even talk today, invoice, or not talk, but think. My mind keeps leaving me. Here's a little, I glued on an orange doily and a little scarecrow. How cute. Little pocket. Here's a little tuck. Here's another vintage Rolodex card that I embellished. Just added the pumpkins and things like that. There's another pocket, and I put in another journaling card that I made. Piece of scrapbook paper, folded it up to make pockets. These are stamped fall colors. I stamped those on, and then these are tags that I made. How cute are those? This pumpkin is stamped on. And then in this pocket we have a vintage McCall's recipe card of pumpkin cream cheese pie. Yummy, yummy. This is I love fall most of all with the little coffee cup. How cute is that? Both of these and several other die cuts that you have seen throughout these journals, these two journals. I actually have packs of these in my Etsy shop. They've been kind of selling out fast, so I think I only have like 2 or 3 packs left, if I'm honest, and you get 12, 2 of each, 12 total, I believe. Or is it 16 total? Actually, I think it's 16 total, 2 of each. These 2 and other ones that are available in my Etsy shop. So if you're interested in some of these die cuts, run over and grab them because I only have a few packs left. I made this on camera too. This is another vintage game card where I put the little envelope in there, or on there, and put some cute little cards in there. How cute. There's like 2 little cards in there, and then the squirrel. Here's another pocket with some vintage Monopoly money and a card that I made. Oh, here's a tuck, an upper tuck, and I forgot to put something in there. Okay, so that's the second little pocket that I forgot to put something in. So I will remember to put something in there before I put it in my shop. I do apologize for that, but it's kind of hidden, right? So I didn't realize, but it tucks up in. Another vintage invoice. Here's another hidden paper clip. And it's got the pockets with the little elements in there. How cute. I love hidden paper clips. I think they are so adorable. There's a pocket with a few pieces from the kit. Here's a fabric flip over the KB and Friends paper. Again, it is 3 layers. Here's another pocket. This is a little card. Another pocket with, I believe, another card, but it flips upward like this. How cute is that? It's like the white wood. I can't talk. White wood texture. I glued on another piece of this You Can Do It Now or Later page. Here's a little pocket, and in here is another vintage game piece that I embellished. I'm not sure if I made this one on camera. This is Luck on the back. I really don't know if I made this one on camera. Not sure. All right, sorry if my phone keeps wiggling. Somebody keeps trying to text me. Okay. This is the second signature and another fabric ruffle that I made. And I keep looking at my phone because I feel like it's not turned properly. Hopefully it is, because I don't want to have to do this video again. Because it shows me the amount of time that I've been filming. Usually it's at the top and not on the side, but today it looks like it's on the side. So hopefully I have it turned. Or it is turned, but hopefully the frame itself turned. Another vintage bingo card that I embellished. I put a little fabric cluster on there. And then here's another little card. Piece of the vintage real estate page. Another pocket here with some pumpkins on it and a card that I made. Here's a tall pocket and I put orange doily and little pumpkins down there. And here is another vintage time card. I want to actually shout out Carrie the Paper Monkey and say thank you to her because she sent me these vintage time cards as a gift, like as a thank you gift for purchasing some things from her live sale that she had a few weeks back. And she threw a few of these in there for me. So I'm very blessed to have had these. I love vintage time cards, as you guys know. I stamped on some leaves and I put a fabric cluster at the top of this. Here is a tag. Fabric cluster, and then that little leaf is one that my husband made with epoxy resin. And in here is another vintage Norman Rockwell playing card, and then this tag that I made. I think I made this on camera. How cute is that? This is one of my favorite tags, or one of my favorite elements that I've made for this journal is this tag. But you guys watched me make that, or some of you did, and if you didn't, that video is still up. Piece of scrapbook paper, again, that I folded up to make pockets, and in this one, very fragile trigonometry page out of the trigonometry antique book. So as you can see, it is a fragile page. I'm gonna try to get it in there without, there we go. And then in this one is the vintage appointment book page. Again, pulled out the October pages and I stamped some leaves. Little cluster collage thingy. There's some elements that came from the kit. Love that, super cute. Two little pockets here. And then here is another hidden paper clip with little pockets. As you can see, there's little things sticking out of the pockets on both sides. This is a belly band that I made, and I put in a little notebook that I made in there. It did tear a little bit right there. When I went to staple it, the stapler kind of caught on the edge and it tore it just a tiny, tiny bit. So I do apologize for that, but it's not too bad. Love that digital, that's so pretty. And then here is another fabric flip, and I just sewed a ruffle to the top of this one, 3 layers. And that's on the tea stained digital. The vintage real estate page. And then another fabric pocket on the back, and in this pocket I have a vintage Betty Crocker recipe card for spicy pumpkin squares. So good, and then my signature there. So there we have it. That is the 2 pumpkin journals. Now I didn't put anything like a tie or anything around them because while there's a lot going on inside, they're not trying to burst open, so I don't feel like they needed to be contained, you know, by tying something around them like I usually do, because a lot of times when I make journals, they are pretty gator mouthed and I have to tie something around it to keep it contained, but I didn't really have to do that with these 2. As you guys could see, there was a lot going on inside of these, but they're not nearly as thick this time, which I'm kind of grateful for, because it's cool when they're, you know, nice and thick, but sometimes it's kind of a pain in the butt, especially when you're trying to write in them. So I didn't feel the need to do that this time. So I'm just going to leave them as is as far as that goes. But anyways, again, these journals will be for sale in my Etsy shop when this video comes out. I know I keep saying when you see this video, but I don't know when you specifically are going to see this video, but when this video is released onto my YouTube channel is when these will be for sale in my Etsy store. So I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you love how these turned out as much as I do. And my next journal project is going to be vintage Halloween. I know I showed you guys a background project that I'm working on right now for my husband's boss ordered this as like a special custom order for his wife, because him and his wife are like huge into Star Wars, Darth Vader especially, and his wife also loves Belle from Beauty and the Beast. So he was like, is it possible for you to make a junk journal of both of them put together? And I said, sure, I'll try my best. So this is a journal that I'm working on kind of off camera, in the background. Obviously still have a lot of work to do. But this is kind of what I'm working on right now, aside from the pumpkin journals. And kind of satisfied with the way it's coming out so far. Still has a little ways to go, but I have pretty much everything prepped for it, and it's a 2 signature journal. But anyways, I'm excited to get this done. So let me know in the comments if you want me to do a flip through of this when it's finished. And if you want to see that, then I will definitely film a flip through of this when it's all done. But other than that, my next journal project will be vintage Halloween, and I'm so excited because I have acquired so many vintage and antique items for Halloween that will be going in those journals. So I'm really excited for that. But anyways, thank you guys so much again for joining me today. And if you enjoyed this video, as always, give it a great big thumbs up. Share it out to any family and friends who you think would enjoy it. Giving it a thumbs up and sharing it out is free, and it helps my channel tremendously. And I want to thank you again, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye guys.